this class, not racing today, helping us out. We thank you for that. But we have some new spec cars here, and these BMWs, exciting things.
Yes, the BMWs are factory cars, and they're the latest spec cars. We also have the Audis now come in, two A4 Audis, and they are also the latest spec cars.
Yeah, the Audis look really nice. New colour scheme. There you go. It's red with this beautiful blue. Sits up behind it. Gee whiz, they look really tricky. The Alfa Romeo, that's going to be replaced by a Honda. Stephen Richards having perhaps one of the last races in that car. Of course, the series hasn't started yet. It starts a little later on. So this is really an excellent chance for everybody to test their gear before the season proper.
Absolutely. The other debut car here today is the Volvo. It's an 850, the car originally driven last year by Ricky Rydell. So the championship proper gets underway in May, so this is an excellent opportunity to test.
Yeah, that Volvo in Rydell's hands, that was a big successful package over in Great Britain.
Should have won the championship. They had a lot of wins early in the year, and then they dropped off a little bit towards the middle, and towards the end they came strong again. So it's a very good car.
So Jeff Brabham very excited about the BMWs. These cars came from Europe, so they're the latest spec cars, been adapted to our conditions.
Yeah, the car that's on pole, the Jeff Brabham car, is in actual fact a Steve Soper car that ran second in the World Cup.
So good material. The Ford Mondeo is an interesting one too that Jimmy Richards is driving, because they lightened that car with a lot of carbon fibre. Had a look at it yesterday, beautifully done, and they took something like 25 out of it, so it's so light now.
Yes, that's been completely rebuilt.
Red lights waiting for the green. There we go, racing now. Let's see who gets it down. The Peugeot pulls out a full. He got a good start. The two Audis get away nicely. Jimmy Richards gets boxed out. Stephen Richards looking for a way through in the Alfa Romeo. Look at this, three abreast as they go down there. Could be four, almost a tap up the backside there from the son onto the father. Jimmy almost got one up the backside from Stephen. The two BMWs get away nicely, and they've got their power down nice and balanced. There we go. The Audi comes up into third place and fourth place. Now Jimmy Richards makes a move around Peter Brock. Looks funny, 05 on a red car.
Yeah, it's amazing how those rear-wheel drive Diet Coke cars get away so quick, because the two cars preceding are four-wheel drive cars, so it's a great effort by the boys.
BMW, Audi and Audi. Now, we've talked about the BMWs. These Audis are the latest trick.
Yeah, they're the Italian Super Turissimo cars, driven by Pirro and Capelli. So these cars should be hot stuff. First one's driven by Greg Murphy, and he's a talent, and I'm very happy to see him out there in front of the team leader.
Yeah, Greg Murphy is a good driver. He's very aggressive. Of course, he was hopeful of going over and doing some open wheeler driving in Europe. That didn't quite come off, but Brad Jones has put this team together. They ran it as a two-car team last year. He's done a terrific job, Brad Jones, and he's got the package together. As I said, good chance to run it before the championship proper. They just look beautiful the way they've turned out, but at the moment Murphy leading the boss. He's in third, there's fourth.
I'm sure that Murphy's going to go very hard here today. He wanted to put up a big show to impress all the people from overseas, and he'd love to drive open wheeler racing cars, but this is his second opportunity, so let's go here. Yeah,
and Brad Jones is giving them that opportunity. So now the gap is closing up a little bit as we watch Brad Jones tailing up Murphy there, but they're starting to bunch up. There's plenty of time in this race. There's no need to hit the panic button. If they can get on the tail, plenty of area being used there from Jones as he uses all the road and then some. Murphy, though, almost onto the tail of the BMWs now. This is good stuff. The Peugeot full. That's a great drive from him. Good start. He's running back in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Peter Brock looks like he's on a bit of a move there. Jimmy Richards and he go side by side as they come up there. Stephen Richards in behind him. So the field now bunched up into two races. This is the first bunch coming, and can the others bridge the gap? They're not that far back, and there's plenty of laps to do so.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's no team orders in this Diet Coke team. I don't know about the Oryx team, but certainly in the Diet Coke team, these two guys are out there to race, and it's going to be on for young and old.
Well, I've certainly done that over the last couple of seasons. Wow, haven't we seen some action from the two beautifully prepared Diet Coke cars? Frank Gardner must have nightmares sometimes, because it's a real street fight between the same two cars, track after track, week after week. They've been turning it on now for 2 seasons. But Jeff Brabham settled back into the car, takes pole, still in front at the moment. Young Morris, hard charger, good driver. Big future ahead of him, sits in second place. Took the series out last year. Then it's Murphy, then it's Jones, then it's Full, and then it's Richards. And I'd say that's the J Richards. Yes, it's Jimmy Richards back after Jeff Full. So Jeff Full's done a really good job at the moment in the Peugeot. He was an improver toward the late end of the season last year.
Yeah, they've got a 95 spec engine for this Peugeot, so it's a 94 actual chassis, but it's got a very, very strong engine, and they're having a lot of meeting this weekend with the Peugeot people here from Formula One, so they're looking good.
Well, we're talking to the people from Audi yesterday, and they were saying the big improvement of these cars has been the front suspension. They've worked very hard on that. They've tidied up the rear end a little bit, but it's been the suspension. Of course, the gearbox is the biggest big thing. They didn't have that sequential gearbox. He said that's made a big, big difference to the cars.
Yeah, this is one of the Audis are the only actual manufacturer that have built their own gearbox. Walkinshaw's built a gearbox for the Volvo, but every other car in the field have extract or Hollinger gearboxes, etc. So it's a very big object to take on.
There's the gap, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Massive crowd in here as it's been every day. Absolutely picture card weather. You can't believe it. Not a cloud hardly in the sky. The flag's just fluffing in the breeze here. It's perfect conditions. Still Brabham. Now Morris comes up underneath the sides. Maybe time to go. Takes a different line. Morris has a look up the inside. Brabham will know he's there. Comes across and closes the door there. Now there may have been a change in position back in the Audi camp. No, it is. There's still Murphy and Jones. So that's two real dogfights and street fights going on here. And probably, if anything, they'd like to bust this up so you go BMW, Audi, BMW, Audi. At the moment, the two teams are fighting each other.
Yeah, it's interesting because we haven't thought about it yet, but let's talk about it. The Yokohama tyres on these two front cars didn't do so well in the V8 touring car race. The Audis have Dunlops on board, so it's early into the race at this point of time, but it could get a little interesting later on.
Morris having a look again. Morris pretty keen, I think, to say I'd like to hit the front. He's had a look a couple of times. Brabham doing a good job. Little clip of dirt there as he sort of comes up the inside. Nice low shot there. You see the angles they go through. Now Morris up on the inside again. Pretty keen to take the lead. He says it's time. Brabham's got other thoughts about it. Morris now under brake. See what happens. Brabham holds him out. Nice job there. Jeff Brabham held his line, just got on the brakes a little later, and still leads this race from Paul Morris. But Morris starting to get aggressive, starting to show the fact that he wouldn't mind having a lead for a while.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, these two guys off the racetrack are very good mates, but on the racetrack it's for real. And the young dude, as they call him, it's his nickname, he's going to give Jeff Brabham a race till the end, I'll tell you.
And as you can see, most of the grandstand areas around here absolutely full of people, and you can see the crowd around this circuit. It's such an immense area to fill this park. Don't be deceived by the open areas you're looking at. We've got a massive crowd here. We're now the commentary box where we're high in the sky and look down. You just see people wall to wall. But at the moment, you see Brabham. He's in first. You see Morris back in second. And Murphy now in third. That's the red Audi starting to close the gap again. The BMWs have split themselves by maybe 4 or 5 lengths. Morris comes back under brakes again. So they're very evenly balanced, the two sets of teams, BMWs and Audis. We'll take a break, come back to Albert Park. Stay with us, the 2 leaders. Good racing here. Live from Albert Park in Melbourne, Victoria. You're looking at the 2-litre cars out on the circuit now as we look down on the chopper. That's 1, 2 and 3. It's Jeffrey Brabham out in front from Paul Morris. Greg Murphy, Brad Jones, Jimmy Richards and Jeff Full. They are the top runners at the moment as they work their way around this area of the circuit. There's been quite a few cars, including Formula One, that have found a bit of trouble here. It's tricky, very, very fast and free-flowing, but then you come into an area where you've got to get hard onto the brakes and use the circuit. As you can see there, the line changes dramatically as they go around that left-hander into the right-hander again and down this very, very long straight. That's the pit complex there. What about that? Australia feel proud of that. It is unbelievable. World-class and terrific. Now, this is the set of corners that's been causing the trouble after the start of most of the races, because they've come straight down into that, off that straight area, down into these sweepers.
Yeah, well, that straight, Darryl, is a very fast straight. It's 250 k's, I would imagine, down there. And it's a big stop, but that's 4 other stops on this racetrack, so the brakes are getting terribly hot.
Well, we've talked about tyres so much today because of being a green circuit, being a new surface that nobody's had a lot of time to test on, obviously because it's a road circuit, so your practice time is pretty limited. The Yokohamas and Michelins and Dunlops, they've all had mixed success here.
Yes, they have. Well, you've got, in these cars, different configurations also. You've got the BMW's front engine, 4-cylinder, rear-wheel drive. Then you have the Audis, which are 4-wheel drive and 4-cylinder. And then you have other cars like the Volvo, which are 5-cylinder, front-wheel drive. So there's lots and lots of different applications that changes the characteristics on the racetrack.
Well, nothing much has happened because Morris is still trailing Brabham. And the 2 Audis sit there, Murphy and Jones. They just can't seem to bridge the gap. They've been a little closer than that. At times, Murphy's really wringing the Audi's neck. He's trying everything he can to get into touch, to perhaps lunge down with a desperate and try and break up the BMWs. But at the moment, Morris has done everything he can to get past Brabham. But Brabham's done a terrific job in front.
Brabham's a very professional driver. I mean, he's been to Indy. He's run 4th at Indy. He's won the ISMA championships 4 times in the USA. He's a very professional driver, and so is Paul Morris, I might add.
Came out of America, Jeff Brabham, with an enormous reputation. I mean, that IMSA class, he absolutely dominated that for years.
He had a record, I think, 8 straight wins. No one has ever done that before. He won the Driver of the Year. I mean, the guy's a talent. You know, he had to finish 4th at Indianapolis, and he's had a lot of starts there. That just speaks for itself. Yeah,
he took a while to settle into the BMW, which I think surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, he just said it was there was no downforce, and it took a little while to get into the car. But now he's doing a good job, and he's pressing Paul. I think he's a very big chance for the championship this year.
So the 2 BMWs, there they are, 1 and 2. I'd like to perhaps get a look at Peter Brock in car 05 because the Volvo, it's a new package to Australia. And it's cost a fair bit of money to get it here. Had a look at it yesterday. Beautifully made with all this Kevlar, and the structure of the car is just sensational. So we can pick up a shot of Peter Brock in 05. We'll try and give you a shot. There it is now. There's the Brock car. Looks funny, doesn't it, to see him in a red car. We've seen him in the white, red, and blue colours. He's in 6th spot at the moment. And there it is. So I didn't think I'd see the day where he wasn't driving anything but a Holden. We did see him in a BMW for a while. I guess we've seen him in the Ford Sierra when you think back. But a Volvo, it doesn't really gel. But gee, it's a pretty car the way it's put together.
He's not the average hat driver, is he, Brock? But it's a new image, this car for Volvo. It's 5 cylinders, it's 20 valve, it's a high-tech car built by TWR. And this car in the championship this year will give it a big shake. I think Brock's going to drive this car equally as well as Ricard Rydell.
Well, this car for him, or this race for him in this car, would be a tremendous bonus because he hasn't had much time to sort it out. It hasn't been in the country that long. So at least now under race conditions, he can evaluate it before the championship starts.
Yeah, he's had 1 test day, I believe, at Lakeside. I think the other thing you've got to consider is he's in a V8 1 minute, and then he's in a 2-litre car, you know, half an hour later. So it's a big ask for Brock to settle down and sort of drive this thing very smooth and quick, as you have to do. So give him a chance. I think he'll make the grade.
Yeah, a lot of work to do, though, I think, to get up with the Audis and the BMW. Maybe this track has the advantage for those cars, but a bit of work to do. He's a fair way back in 6th spot, but he always drives at 110%, so he'll certainly give the value there. But you've got to have a look at the way it's made. It's a beautifully turned-out motor car. Jeff Fuller's another youngster that's done a terrific job. New sponsorship for this car, beautifully turned out the Peugeot, and they struggled a long way midfield, maybe rear of the field when they started with it, but gee, they've developed the car. He's done a great job.
Yeah, Jeff's a hot little driver. He just goes for a broke at all times, and with the 95 spec engine, he's got plenty of horsepower, and he's doing a great job in this little car.
Yeah, there it is, the Peugeot, beautifully turned out. They all are, these cars, so we'll take a break as we watch Jeff Fuller as he chases Peter Brock here at Albert Park. Back shortly. 2-litre Tourers hour, 1.5 laps to go here at Albert Park. Morris still chases Jeff Brabham. Then it's Murphy, Jones, but Jimmy Richards is on the charge. Jimmy Richards almost up with the Jones Audi. He may have had a problem earlier on, but he's sorted it out now, and he's putting in some really hot laps. But it's Brabham, Morris, Murphy, 1, 2 and 3, Jones, Richards and Brock. So Richards absolutely flying at the moment. I think he's going to run out of time, but the Ford Mondeo may have had a problem. This is on the last lap now. He may have had a problem early, but he's reeling them in. But the battle still goes on here between Brabham and Morris. They've been this close for most of the race, and Brabham's withheld most of the pressure. Richards with the fastest lap again, so he's dead set hot in pursuit. I suppose the interest is, can he catch Brad Jones? Not sure Morris has got enough mumbo here to get past Brabham. Brabham's done a terrific job, but he hasn't driven that defensively. Any time that Morris has got close enough, he's had the answer.
Well, I think if he can keep as close as he is now, Morris will have a go at Brabham. It's last lap to go. He's got nothing to lose. I think he'll poke his nose somewhere.
Oh, I think he's surely going to do that. He's done it a couple of times before. That's my very point, though. Brabham's had the answer to it. He really seems to have a little bit up his sleeve around this circuit. He told me while we were doing the earlier race, while he was helping us out in commentary, that he really likes the circuit. He said it's the sort of circuit he likes, up a little puff of smoke as you see him lock him up there, and Morris gets a bit loose, hangs it out in the grass. But he said it's the sort of track he likes. It's fast, doesn't mind the walls. I'm used to racing in the United States. There's plenty of that over there, and I think it suits him right down to the ground. And obviously the BMWs are liking it also. Back in the field, here's another touchdown, a little spin into that same area. I tell you what, this blue gravel has certainly had a workout, hasn't it? And that's Nelson as he goes into it. So there's a few cars that have gone back to the pits with a couple of blue stones in and out of the motor covers. All right, Brabham here. Watch the touch again.
Yeah, this is the ex-Diet Coke car from last year, the Faber-Castell car, and a very nice car. And both drivers were a little bit of fault, I believe. So out into the Moondocks.
Leslie May, our mate there, involved in that with the red BMW. So Les has kept his nose clean up until the last lap, into a bit of trouble there. Paul Morris now and Brabham, they dice out. Morris has taken fastest lap, but Brabham's held him out as they come to the race for the flag now. Morris sits in right behind him, can't do it though. Jeff Brabham takes the first of the 2-litre races. Remember, this is not their season opener. And look at that, here's Jimmy Richards all over the back of the Audi of Brad Jones. Can't quite get him though, but a good drive from Richards. Obviously had problems earlier as he slams across the line. So it was BMW, Audi, and then the Ford Mondeo. But Jeff Brabham takes the first of the races this year, not part of the championship. That'll happen a little later on, but a terrific run for all of the cars in front of a big crowd here on a brand new circuit to see how they go. Peter Brock in the Volvo finished back down the field into 6th spot, but that car will get a lot quicker as they get a bit more development time.
I think Ross Palmer Motorsport would have been disappointed in that, because I know they have a lot of the Ford people here today, and it qualified very well on Thursday, and they're looking for a big action today from the car. My
thanks to Graham Moore for his help today. Jeff Brabham, congratulations. Paul Morris, Murphy, Jones, Richards, Brock. That's how they finished. Take a break, come back to Victoria, and of course Albert Park. Stay with us, Australia.